Now there's people going, I want the rain to fall on my enemies. Why? If rain fall upon them, they might grow.
I'm trying to work out whose lyric that is because I'm thinking...
Stormzy.
Who was it? They might grow.
It's Stormzy. Don't make the rain fall upon your enemies. So I suppose they will get bigger, because rain make things grow, you know.
That's amazing.
Right? I met a young lady who could sing very high notes, and I gave her a song, and she sang it, and we scaled the charts of it. That young lady's name is Janet Kay, and the name of the song is Silly Games.
Wow. I've got goosebumps.
Rude Boys were supposed to be out of work, up to no good most of the time, right? And
we call them roadmen now.
Roadmen, no. Roadman.
Yeah, we've updated Rude Boys to roadmen. No, a waste man.
Waste man is something else.
A waste man is a waste man.
Okay,
yeah, no, we give credit to the Rude Boys and the roadmen. They're doing something. We may not agree, but they are doing something. Whereas the waste men are doing they're doing zilch. What's going on, everyone? In this episode, we'll be looking at the power of ska, reggae, and dancehall, and the massive influence that Jamaican musical culture has had on our scenes and styles here in the UK. Afrobeat, hip-hop, lovers rock, jungle, UK garage, grime, Afro swing. With its fusion of Caribbean, African, and American sounds, all served with a UK twist, Britain can claim to be black music's most innovative hub. This is Sounds of Black Britain. When My Boy Lollipop became a massive pop hit in 1964, it changed UK music forever. Recorded by Jamaican teenager Millie Small, the song ushered in the arrival of a new sound on the world stage, ska. By the time Desmond Decker's Israelites became the first reggae song to reach #1 in the UK in 1969, Jamaican music was proving itself to be truly pioneering, influencing everything from fashion to culture to spirituality and slang for black and white Britons of all backgrounds. Joining me to discuss the power of ska, reggae, and dancehall is the legend Dennis Bovell. I'm Nigerian. All I do is raise my voice.
Now, wow.
Now, wow.
I did for them.
Oh, wow.
You did? I did. I worked with Fela Kuti, the great Nigerian composer and father of Afrobeat.
Absolutely, yeah.
I recorded several of his songs in my studio in London in the 80s. He came specifically to work with me, and we went to Amsterdam to record Movement of the People, Part 2.
Seriously?
And when we'd finished recording and come back to London to do the mix, there was some noises that I couldn't get rid of, especially on the bass guitar.
Yeah.
There was a buzz, like that. Fella was livid. He wanted to go back to Amsterdam and kill the guy. Do you know what I mean? He said, "La juki yai for them," you know. And he was so mad that I said, "Look, I'll replay that." He went, "You play the bass?" I said, "I've done it a few times before." Wow. And then I took the bass and redubbed the bass part for this tune. And at the end of it, I didn't expect any credit or anything, but I'm very glad that they did credit me, because now if I say to people, I played bass on that record, I go, "Where's your name?" You know, did. And so they put, bass, Dennis Bovell.
Do you know what I've noticed? The elder Caribbean community.
Well in tune with Africa.
Yes, so much. It was only my generation that it felt as if Africans, I don't want to say Africans, Nigerians or Ghanaians were not close with West Indians and Caribbean people. Yeah. Because whenever I speak to my elders, there was no separation at all.
I know. My father had lots of Nigerian friends. In fact, when I told my dad I was going to be working with Fela, it was like, now you're working with some, quality musician.
He was giving you respect at that point.
Yeah, you've made it, my son. You're working with Fela, and
that's crazy.
When Fela came to the door of the studio, he said, "Is this your studio?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Is it your own studio?" I said, "Yeah." So let's go, because he'd never been in a studio that was black run or black owned. He'd been in Abbey Road, all the EMI, sort of the white coat people, and he wanted me to be his engineer.
Since 1959, the West End of Kingston, Jamaica has throbbed with a musical beat. A hypnotic sound of surging excitement and power. People hearing it became caught up in a frenzy and couldn't help moving to this pulsating, almost religious beat. This is ska.
Ska music became the genre of choice for young Jamaicans in the 1950s. A fusion between traditional mento sounds and local interpretations of the American R&B tracks that were blowing up radio stations across the Caribbean. Ska was a dance music full of energy. As the 1960s progressed, the sound slowed down. The drums and bass come into the fore, and reggae was born. Reflecting the challenges and opportunities of independence from Britain and growing influence of Rastafarianism, reggae became infused with Pan-African political and spiritual messages wrapped in a spirit evoking the motherland, aka Africa. I feel like there's so much inside your brain. I want to just extract it.
Oh, really?
I do. They're just like your memories, your experiences in your life. They just sound incredible. I could listen to you talk forever.
Well, after 50 years of being in the music business, I've come across quite a few different people.
I can imagine.
Different things.
I can imagine. Can we talk about, and now, because we've spoken off mic, I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I want to say ska, but you pronounce it?
Ska.
Ska. So let me tell you my version of ska, and you're going to say, no, Julie, you're living in a different realm. Growing up, my parents listened to reggae. Reggae probably still to this day is one of my favorite genres of music because of my parents. And so when I heard ska, to me, I'd heard it in pop culture. So Lily Allen, for example, she was making ska type music. That was how I heard it. So I had no idea the backstory, the history.
Coming from Jamaica.
Exactly. I didn't know this. So this is where I'm going to lean on you.
Okay, well.
My lovely. And ask you to give me the actual origins of ska and where it came from.
Well, in Jamaica, they listened a lot to shortwave radio.
Okay.
From the US. And they would then take songs that they'd heard and change the beat. So a pop song, instead of 4 beats to the bar, they would accent beat 2 and beat 4. So
okay.
Bam, bam, bam,
yeah.
bam, bam, bam. And it was about the time when Jamaica was becoming independent. And Fats Domino, the famous Fats Domino from New Orleans, was a frequent visitor to Jamaica. And his way of playing that was then kind of taken in by the Jamaican music lovers and music recordists and presenters and record companies who were searching for a new identity for their newly independent country.
Okay.
Right? So this beat became their beat.
Right.
So the and it had different tempos, faster, slower, but the emphasis on beat 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. In the gap, kind of, and so that became known as ska. And a famous group that played that style was a group called the Scatterlights. And they went around the world playing that. And they were seasoned musicians who could touch anything: classical, jazz, pop, blues, and they incorporated that feeling, that tempo,
Right.
that mood into their music. So they became famous for that. It was, a Jamaican phenomenon.
Could you paint a picture of what a ska party or congregation, we talk about how Notting Hill Carnival came to be and how these different things happened. What was ska like at that time? What were people doing? Were they going to parties? Were they listening at home? Where was that music mostly celebrated?
Well, it was mostly celebrated in the streets.
Okay.
Because came the phenomenon of the sound system, where huge, great, big, loud music would be coming out of there. And there were two predominant producers in Jamaica, one by the name of Cox and Dodd, and the other one by the name of Duke Reed. And they would then make these tunes, and their followers would, popularize them. And then when the coming of the Rude Boys now,
Yes.
right, Rude Boys were supposed to be out of work, up to no good most of the time, right? And
we call them roadmen now.
Roadmen, no, roadmen.
Yeah, we've updated Rude Boys to roadmen. No, a waste man.
Waste man is something else.
A waste man is a waste man.
Okay,
yeah,
he's
no, we give credit to the Rude Boys and the roadmen. They're doing something. We may not agree, but they are doing something. Whereas the waste men are doing they're doing zilch.
They're on the road. They're mad out the road.
So yeah, sorry to cut you. So the Rude Boys came through.
The Rude Boys came through, and it was a cult that people were anxious to get rid of.
Okay.
So they loved ska.
So they weren't making music, but they were just followers of the sound.
Of it and dancing to it, and putting the fear of God in other people.
Okay, fine.
For other reasons, some of them. The music facilitated by speaking to the Rude Boys, and one tune by Dandy Livingstone was "This is a message to you, Rudy."
Yeah.
Right?
I love this song.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-da.
Wait, so hang on. This is a message to you?
The specials covered that.
Oh, see, I was hearing some bootleg versions.
No, the original version of that song is by a man called Dandy Livingstone. The song's called "Message to Rudy."
Okay.
And another performer by the name of Prince Buster, he set himself up as Judge Dredd.
Yes, yeah.
So on record, he would sentence these Rude Boys to 400 years and 500 lashes.
Yeah.
For doing robbery with intent, and it would be, and the Rude Boys would be going, "Rude Boy, hush up, don't cry. Rude Boys, don't cry." You know what I mean? And it was a whole court scene by Prince Buster. But within the music.
Crazy.
Right?
That's mad.
And then the music started to change with a man called Desmond Decker and the Aces. Now, Desmond Decker slowed down the tempo of ska with a song called 007, which is the James Bond, 007, right?
Yeah.
And that song, 007, Ocean's 11, and the tempo was, going slower and drifting towards what then became Rocksteady.
Okay.
Now, whereas ska was more of a solo dancing thing, Rocksteady was couples dancing.
Okay.
Closer, cheek to cheek, thigh to thigh. You know what I mean? And then the music stayed there, and it was called Rocksteady.
Right.
And then a man by the name of Alton Ellis became what was known as the godfather of Rocksteady. Wow. And one of his most famous tunes is "I'm still in love with you." Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So
that was originally a Rocksteady tune?
That's a Rocksteady tune.
Okay.
And then out of Rocksteady came what we now know as reggae.
So for those who are following along, I need you to give us some of those big names. So where did Bob Marley, let's go for the biggest, where did Bob Marley fit in this timeline that you're giving us?
Well, Bob Marley was always on the fringe of the ska thing because he recorded for Studio One. Studio One was the large, big recording company in Jamaica. So Bob and the Wailers, well, they were called the Wailers then, they went to Studio One and recorded some stuff there. But they were not the top group. You know, they were, making their way to the top. I don't think they actually got there until it became reggae.
Right.
And he started working with Lee Scratch Perry.
Yes.
Now, Lee Scratch Perry had a set of musicians that he called the Upsetters.
Okay.
And they hit #1 spot in the UK several times. One of their most famous #1s is a song called Return of the Django.
Okay.
Right? And, Django. Return of the Django, right?
You know, someone sitting there thinking, Django? Wasn't that a film by Quentin
Yeah, but
Tarantino? You're like, no,
before
before that, yeah.
Right? Return of the Django. See, because Django's always been a story about a black cowboy. And Return of the Django is, ironically, the song that's used by HMRC to remind people who are self-employed to turn
do
in their tax returns by the end of January.
How are you going to ruin a song with that such negative energy?
I don't
know.
need
that in my life. Like, I don't want to hear a song and think, I should do my tax returns now. Can we go back actually to when you're talking about #1s? Because there's something that we still celebrate today within this generation of artists as well. It's something that we see a lot more in terms of #1 albums and #1 singles.
Yes.
But take us back to those first #1s from the ska moments and when you're hearing music in the UK that's a #1 song. What were some of those big hits? Well, the first
big one was My Boy Lollipop by Millie Small. And I remember being very proud of that.
Yeah.
Because that's the beat that I love, you know. And at school, right, people are going, what's this? I'm going, #1.
It's a #1 single, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
And just so people understand, what was #1 at that time? What were some of the other songs out, not in ska, not from Jamaica? What would be some of the songs
the Beatles would have been
right?
There.
Exactly.
Probably She Loves You, yeah. Or,
so this is a completely different sound to what everybody's used to hearing.
Yeah.
What were some of the other number-1s?
Desmond Dekker. Israelites.
Yes.
Now, that's when it had moved into reggae.
Back in ska times, were people moving towards the culture as well, or was it just the music in the UK?
Because the skinheads took ska to be their own.
Oh, okay.
The original skinheads, who were not thought to be racist, but thought to be emulating the culture of Jamaica and wearing the same kind of clothes as the Rude Boys and loving the ska, you know. Then another set of boys decided that they were going to be skinheads and brought the racial thing into it. But, I mean, from when I was at school, English boys that were interested in Jamaican or Caribbean music went out and bought the records and started to learn the lingo. I mean, that's how groups like Madness evolved.
Yes.
Groups like The Specials and groups like Police.
Yes.
Groups like Culture Club. You know, all these people that loved that beat because it was and wanted to do it themselves.
I'd love to speak to you now about the UK. It's a place that I was born in, a place that I've grown up in. My parents are Nigerian, but I've spent the majority of my life here, and I've seen what happens when we hear music, we interpret it in our own way, and you see communities of people coming together, and whether they're making the music or dancing to it or, you know, making parties and curating lineups and bands and stuff, I've found that the UK is a really great place for celebrating music.
Yeah.
And really coming together and enjoying it in a way that feels euphoric and exciting.
I agree with you.
We've seen recently with the Windrush generation about how they've been treated in the UK in a way that...
I'm one of the Windrush generation.
In a way that a lot of us... Thank you for sharing that, because there's a lot of us sit here and we think we're a generation of people that have always come together and we've always held ourselves in a regard of that we are united. We don't find ourselves to try and separate from other people. Like I said, the elder generation for us, we come together wherever we're from. So I'd love to hear how the Windrush generation came together when ska was coming over here. How were they uniting? How were they celebrating the music? It'd be lovely to hear that from you.
My father came to this country to work for London Transport.
Okay.
He's posted here as a bus conductor. My mother came to this country to work in the NHS as a nurse. Their friends, colleagues, came from all over the world. So all these people that had the same employer, either the NHS or London Transport, had to find ways of entertaining themselves because a lot of them were not being allowed into the nightclubs of London. And so they came up with this phenomenon, which is called the blues dance. And so the party would shift from house to house. It was like, it's house parties, and whoever was keeping the party for whatever reason would roll the carpets back, put the nice furniture away, open the two rooms on the ground floor or maybe in the basement and have a party, right? Their white friends or their English friends who loved a glass of beer and a shot of rum and loved the music and seeing us enjoy ourselves, a lot of them came along and a lot of their children you grew up having their parents listen to that kind of music.
Give us your feelings, your thoughts about music today, about the music culture we have today, and how it relates. What are some of the similarities that you see between now and then?
Well, for me, I thought that females were lacking in the genre reggae.
Speak.
Reggae was...
speak, Brother Dennis, speak!
No, reggae was heavily male.
Yes.
And the ladies were just there to provide a little hoo-ha-ha backing vocals.
Yeah.
And when a lot of them were more than capable of taking the microphone and taking the lead part, I noticed that we didn't have a Diana Ross in the reggae field. We had, but we didn't have one that was celebrated. We didn't have Aretha Franklin. So I set out to write songs for females.
Right.
And soon, producers, namely a guy called Lloydie Coxon, who was the boss of Coxon Sound, invited me into the studio because he had an idea to do a reggae version of a soul song, right, called Caught You in a Lie. So we went into the studio and a young girl by the name of Louisa Mark sang the song, Caught You in a Lie. You said he was your cousin, oh, but I found out that he wasn't, 'cause cousins don't kiss, especially like this. Oh, I'm afraid I caught you in a lie. Right? And that song was originally a guy singing it to a girl, but we turned it round so a girl could sing it to a guy.
Okay.
And then it became very, very popular for our generation, right? And it was the beginning of our generation's invention, lovers rock.
Right.
And we started making songs where girls were singing. And it was all about love songs, It was a good love or a bad love or a stale love or a fresh love or, love, right? And it caught on because then out of the woodwork came all these females who go, I can sing too, And then after an audition, picked out 3 girls who called themselves Brown Sugar. The most famous of those 3 girls is Karen Wheeler, who went on to sing with Soul to Soul, back to life, back to reality. Yeah. And she started at the age of 15 in that lovers rock band. She was 15, yeah.
Wow.
And then I met a young lady who could sing very high notes, and I gave her a song, and she sang it, and we scaled the charts of it. That young lady's name is Janet Kay, and the name of the song is Silly Games.
Wow. I've got goosebumps. That's insane. Can we talk quickly about City Games?
Yeah.
At the time, just give me, honestly, how many years did you think that track had in it?
I didn't know it would last till now, but I certainly hoped it would. When I was constructing it, I was constructing it to hit the charts. So I made up this drum pattern, right? And the hi-hat pattern was like soca music, right? Or high life.
Yes.
Where the hi-hat is very, right?
Yeah.
And the snare pattern was Afrobeat. And then I had disco beat on the kick drum.
Yeah.
So I had all those three styles mixed up in one beat. And then I had to find a drummer who could play it. So I called my good friend Drummy Zeb from Aswad. I said, Drummy, I got a pattern for you. Let me hear it. Whoa, magic, man, magic. And he goes, give me that. And he got on it and played it fantastically.
Wow.
He owned it to the tune of where, before the song goes out to them, to play your silly games. Before silly games, right?
Mm-hmm.
The man started going, I thought, who's this? What's this? It's a pop tune. What are you doing? I don't want that. I wanted to keep it straight. And then when I thought, let me listen to it anyway. And I listened to it, and something inside said, you know what, Dennis?
This is it.
That is it. That's what makes the tune, takes it out of the reggae vein and slams it back into the pop vein and then back into the reggae.
Into reggae.
So when it came to...
Imagine making a song that you can't actually sing yourself. That must be so frustrating.
No. I had to tell her how to sing that.
You're like... Not too bad. It's not too bad. It's all right.
Dancehall is our everything. This is our workplace. This is our home.
Dancehall is a culture. Dancehall is a movement.
We all can achieve the same if we work together. Simple.
Dancehall is an enjoyment. Dancehall is joy. Dancehall is happiness.
Dancehall is all about grooving and entertaining yourself and entertain people and make you feel happy.
By the late 1970s, a newer, harder sound was coming through. Dancehall swept through Jamaica's streets and quickly went global. With its focus on rapid rhymes and digitally programmed beats, it was both a precursor to, and companion of, hip-hop's global ascent. And as new generations in the UK came to love and appreciate this innovative sound, the music influenced so much of what subsequently came to be here in Britain. I know a lot of the younger generation were very confused when Beenie Man said out loud that bashment is not a genre of music. We don't call music bashment. That is a style and a culture. Dancehall is the genre of music. Dancehall is what we make. And what
I think he's right, because they started out making dancehall. It was people outside of the perimeter of playing that gave it that word bashment, right? I don't know what they wanted to bash.
What is wrong with you? Why are you so funny?
Well, it's true. I mean, if it's called bashment, who them I bash?
But you know why it's so crazy though? For me, growing up in London, I would say I'm going to a bashment party. Or, like we're listening to bashment music. That to the point that I had to add it to my phone because my phone would always autocorrect it to basement, and I was like, no, I used to tell my phone off, like, you need to learn the word bashment. Like, this is a real thing. My parents are Nigerian. I've grown up around multiple different cultures and heritages. I don't have a part of my life where I don't speak to West Indians and I would never know. I am close friends with a lot of West Indian people. And we all called music and called parties bashment parties. So it's so interesting to hear.
That's probably a London term.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That might be something that started in one place, the place where the music actually didn't come from, and has spread further. So give us dancehall. Give us what that means.
Well, dancehall, in my mind, is the kind of music that you play in the dance hall. Right? That's why it's called dancehall.
When did dance halls become dance hall?
Well, dancehall became dancehall when people like Frankie Paul would do songs that were only played in the dancehall. They weren't saleable because people didn't buy that. Oh. They went to hear it in dances, but nobody actually bought copies of it to have at home.
Why? Do you know why?
It was probably at a time when dollars now run. You know, it's like, we ain't got enough money to eat food, louder music. But yeah, I mean, Frankie Paul used to refer to himself as Frankie Dancehall Paul.
Right.
Right, and it started around the time that people were using machines to play, especially the drums. Mm. Because there were so few good drummers around.
Right, okay.
Right, that machines made it better and easier for novices. And people started making stuff in very small studios and even in their bedrooms.
Would you say that's the biggest difference between reggae and dancehall? Is that the music was more...
Yeah, because dancehall is a branch of the reggae tree, I told you, right? But the branch of the reggae tree that is made predominantly by machines,
right.
Drum machines, and synthesizers or sequences.
Right, okay.
You know, whereas reggae people playing, you would have different sequences of the thing, but it's all man-made, man-played. You know, as soon as the machines started and they started rifling, it became dancehall, right? Because people didn't buy that to take home. They listened to it in the dance hall.
Bearing in mind, we've come from the older generation being in their houses, listening to music
Blues
in their houses. We then start moving into these live performances, and you're seeing bands. You know, you can end up in a band clash and see two bands playing against each other. And then we move into machines, synthesizers. You've got dancehall. I'd like to hear your opinion on what you think was making those changes. What was the causes for all of these things that were evolving?
First of all, lacking in lyric, right? Because a lot of these, they're talking cobblers, right?
I like it.
Do you understand? And that's why a lot of people wouldn't buy it to take home. And then they came the expletives, you know, and the rudeness of some of it, right? Yeah. You wouldn't take that home and let your kids hear it. You might go out and hear it and leave it where you heard it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because when I think about the genres that came after that, jungle, garage, grime. Hardcore, so different. Hardcore. Yeah, it's very different playing a reggae song at home to playing a jungle track.
Absolutely.
And it is actually those two main things that really
and some
makes
of the expletives and the level of the language.
Yeah.
You don't want your kids hearing that.
All of these genres are the evolution of black music. Whether it's black British or wherever it's from, it's black music. And
creation, African creation.
Did you see the people change over time as jungle and garage and grime started coming in? Did you see the people in the parties changing?
Yeah, they got younger.
That's very true. What do you think led that? Was it the machines? Was it the MCing? Was it the beat making?
The style of music appealed to them more than the older generation.
Okay.
So the older generation took a backseat and went, well, we've had our time. Have yours.
Yeah.
But don't cuss.
But please don't cuss.
Yeah, don't cuss.
Do you think there was a reason that we didn't see MC culture in reggae, in ska, in Rocksteady, in Lovers Rock?
No. The MC culture was in reggae, and that's where it started.
Right.
With U-Roy, I-Roy, Prince Buster, all them kind of people.
But do you feel like it
Prince
was as
Jazzbo.
prominent as it is in the music that we see today?
Well, listen, it came from the American scat,
Okay.
right? They go, hey, bab doo bab doo bab doo bab doo bab bab boo, and that started there, right, in America, and then in Jamaica, people who heard the same idea, and there was a group in America called the Last Poets.
Right.
Gil Scott-Heron was one of them.
Okay.
And so the militants in Jamaica took that stance, Jah, Rastafari, love your brother, Africa is the way forward. Those ideologies came out of people talking. It didn't matter if the person couldn't sing, as long as they were saying something that people wanted to hear and the beat was nice.
Right.
So all these kids that are doing that now should know where that's coming from.
It's funny as well, you say now that a lot of people are talking cobblers, because when you look back at it, it was about you can only say something if you're saying something that has meaning.
Now there's people going, I want the rain to fall on my enemies. Why? If rain fall upon them, they might grow.
I'm trying to work out whose lyric that is because I'm thinking...
Stormzy.
Who was it? They might grow.
It's Stormzy. Don't make the rain fall upon your enemies. Because suppose them get bigger, because rain make things grow,
That's amazing. Right? I don't think I'm the only person that feels that we've learned so much just from speaking to you. And talking about these different genres of music and how they came about and how they've evolved into each other and how reggae is a tree, guys. Okay? Mm-hmm. Reggae is a tree and there are many branches that come from the reggae tree. Yeah. I would love to hear your opinion just on the legacy of all of these things, on how you feel they have stood the test of time, on where you feel we're going in there.
And I think they can only get bigger and fatter. Okay. Because as the youths get older and come up with different ideas and ways of how to entertain each other, it can only get better.
Do you feel that the youth of today and in the way that we make music today, do you feel there's enough reference back to ska and back to reggae and back to dancehall? And
I think
would you like to see more?
I like to see more reference to love. As opposed to war. Because, all these people go, boy, mash up them things and kick down this and kill that and juke that with my knife. And we should have no place for that in society, right? Because those are horrible things. And who would want to go, yeah, I've been in jail, I'm out now, any man just with me, right, I want to deal with him, star, because you know what I mean? I don't mind going to jail. Lie. Who doesn't mind? Mate, you can't have a girlfriend in jail. Well, you could be someone else's girlfriend, but
it might not be the relationship that you want. Give me your top 3 reggae, dancehall tunes that when you hear them, no matter where you are, you can't say silly games, no matter where you are, no matter what is going on, those will get you up out of your seat.
Beres Hammond, Double Trouble.
You picked that one very quickly. Yeah, that's number 1.
That's my top tune.
Okay, cool.
Beres
Give me
Hammond.
2 more.
Morgan Heritage.
Ooh.
Down by the River.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alton Ellis, I'm Still in Love.
Alton Ellis, I'm Still in Love.
Yeah, I'm still in love.
I feel like you was taking yourself back to the last time you were in a dance hall and you was thinking, what was the song that really...
Yeah, that tune that kick off.
Got you moving. Okay,
and Beres Hammond, Kick Off. And Morgan Heritage.
Amazing.
Kick Off.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. So there you have it. You might have known a bit about reggae's impact on the UK and the world, but you've hopefully learned a lot more and connected the legacy that runs through to the current day. Massive shouts and big love to Dennis Bovell for dropping so many gems. Wherever you look, reggae and dancehall's influence can be felt. Whether in the wordplay of hip-hop MCs, the drum and bass lines of jungle, the sound system setups of garage DJs, the clashing culture of grime, the slang of UK rap, the bounce and vibe of Afro swing, even the slang you speak, whatever your background. Jamaican music and culture really is a key component of it all. Next time on The Sounds of Black Britain, we'll be focusing on the ladies and the massive role that black women have played in the music and cultures that we all love. It probably comes as no surprise that I'm super excited about that one, so I'll see you then. The Sounds of Black Britain podcast